Hello, Thursday. And the first snip up is going back to the tragic generation. What was it? The thing in the Financial Times with the strata of things getting better, except maybe for the young generations now. This is another chart from that article pointing to pensions in the United Kingdom. And those arrows are showing the differentials between the strata of the pensioners born in 1905, then 1915, and then 1925 to 1935. 1935 born ones doing a lot better than the, you can see the difference. What I want to say here opening is kind of firing off the last comment in that, the one I read this morning from Axel on yesterday's post, where I answered kind of agreeing with Axel, who picked up on what I was saying. That yes, I think the economy could be half, if it takes half of the people to create the necessaries for the economy, the basics, then the other half could be actors. They could, half the economy could be just singing and dancing for the other half and for each other. That would be a perfectly fine economy. And just a refinement on what Axel said, because I think a lot of people might have not quite picked up. It's not moving towards a transaction economy. It is saying that the economy is, and all economies always have been, transaction economies. That's what an economy is, transactional. And if it happens to be transacting for, I'll give you a yam and you give me a banana, that's the transactional economy. If it is you build me a house and I'll sell you a cow, that's the transactional economy. If it is I'll do all the farming and you sing and dance for me in the evening, that's the transactional economy. It matters not what people do in the economy. It matters not at all. They could decide, this is why I entitled it, jobs are something created by human nature or something. If the national psyche is very frugal, then even the things, the necessities of life are very minimal. And then you can have 10% of the population creating the essentials and 90% singing and dancing for each other. That would be a perfectly valid economy, a good working economy. The trouble arises, as I noted in the 2-line strap opening from yesterday's post, is only when you want foreign exchange to buy things from other people. If you want other goods and services from other people to come in and sing and dance for you in a foreign language, then you will need something to transact with them with. But if you don't, you can be fine with a 10% doing the practical work and 90% singing and dancing. What I'm trying to stress, and will try and stress in this video, is if everybody is happy with that as the transactional economy, that will work absolutely fine. The only thing that will be getting in the way is ideas in the head. As an economy, it can work just fine. Right, so on back to the UK pensioners. The government, and quite a lot of this pension stuff in the UK is government, the government can pay pensioners whatever it wants to pay pensioners, as long as pensioners aren't driving around in Rolls Royces, and it's an insult to people. Feel it's an insult that pensioners get too much. Then they can have what they want. The government can give them as much money as the government wants, because the government has an unlimited supply of money, so it can give them what it wants. If it wants to penny pinch on them and give them a little bit and have them freezing to death at home, the government can do that. If it wants them in BMWs, it can put them in BMWs. But that might destabilise the heads of the people across the entire economy transacting. It'll affect other transactions. Right, moving on to the United States, a New York Times article. I like it. I'm a people person, says Ms. Hardin, 50, who used to work as an office assistant at a construction company until times went bad. But after nearly 5 years at Fresh and Easy, she remains a part-time worker despite her desire to work full-time. In fact, all 22 employees at her store are part-time, except for the 5 managers. She earns $10.90 an hour, and with work weeks averaging only 28 hours, her yearly pay equals $16,500. I can't live on this, says Ms. Hardin, who is single. It's almost impossible. While there have always been part-time workers, especially at restaurants and retailers, employers today rely on them far more than before as they seek to cut costs and align staffing to customer traffic. This trend has frustrated millions of Americans who want to work full-time, reducing their pay and benefits. Within the economy, there is the diktats of the capitalistic system. If Fresh and Easy want to take over the world, they will have to screw their employees and to a certain extent their customers to make more profits, so more people invest in the company, which will give them more money to go out and buy more companies up, and so they can invade the world. So what you've got is the possibility, as I said at the start, of a perfectly, let's say, amicable working economy based on what the people think that they want at the time. But within that system that we have now, in reality, is the capitalist working system, which I'm not saying is bad, but it has its own diktats. It has its own ways of working, which are often completely against what the people might want. There is the possibility for Fresh and Easy to be a lot more generous to their employees. But it means they will not be able to take over the world. If they want to take over the world, they're going to have to be Scrooges. You've got Walmart, who are Scrooges. You've got, is it Costco, who are an awful lot nicer to their employees. Both systems can work, but the mentality of the people involved, including the market, kind of like the Walmart one, because it kind of understands the Scrooge mentality, and each quarter can be made better when they scrimp and save on everything and make it hyper efficient, which hyper efficiency can be good if you want to take over the world. Right, so we've got our economy and the diktats of the capitalist system working with its own rules within that economy. Let's go on to money and finish there. The third and final snip, the effectiveness of monetary policy in Japan 1989, although it seems to go back further to 85, to 2012. 3 lines. The Bank of Japan's balance sheet size, we've all seen now the Bank of Japan's balance sheet, the Bank of England's balance sheet, the European Central Bank balance sheet, and the Fed's balance sheet going up and up and up, and everyone going up. It's happening in their heads, you see, going up and up and up. The blue line is the broad money. That's the kind of that's your M&Ms. That's the money that the people have got to play with if they want to play with it. But the Japanese people have got it in their mind that they don't want to do too much transacting. They're being Scroogish themselves for various reasons. They might be a naturally Scroogish nation, I have no idea, but for the last 25 years they've got it in their heads that we don't want to spend the money, and that's your consumer price index 1989 to 2012 in green, which is effectively flat from 1990 till now, because the people, they've got there's never been too much unemployment in Japan, although they cover it up with quite a lot of part-time working, but they will not go out and spend. They will not spend the money on somebody coming to sing and dance for them. They could, but they don't. It's all in their head. And that's the money that is sprinkled upon the economy, but sprinkling money on an economy does not make the people confident enough to say, yes, come and entertain us at the weekend. Or referring back, it doesn't make an employer of a local airport confident enough to employ whatever it was, sales executive or whatever she was meant to have done. It's all in the mind. It can all be done, but it can't be arranged directly. There's no levers you can pull, money-wise, that's monetary, or governmental-wise, that's fiscal, to directly affect the mentality of the people. I might move on to the Scandinavian economies, because that's a mentality that is working there. We can say it's big government, it's whatever, but it's a mentality that they feel as though they are working together confidently in the economy, and it works. And it works not because the government is big, not because the government is small, or the government is this, or they're particularly efficient. It's because they are confident in their own minds in the Scandinavian economies. That's why they work. There's nothing you can pick out of fiscal policy or monetary policy or governmental policy particularly. It's just that they're comfortable in their own minds. That's why their economies work. It doesn't mean that just because you are confident in your own mind that external shocks can't happen. They can. But it's a great big thing that economics just does not get its head around at all. Blimey. That's a lot of things said, Mystic. Yes. Bye.